Arknights Endfield is going to give out a 6-star Selector. This means that when you start the game, you'll have on average 3 6-star characters. While this is the main headline of the update, I also want to go over why this update shows that Endfield is on the right path. So the main optimizations this patch would be enemy levels being reduced. This means that it would be easier to get through the early game. This is good because you're still setting up your gear and your builds just aren't that optimized yet. They will also give you components to assemble blue and purple gear. I'm glad they're not just giving out components for gold gear, and the amount is only enough for a single character. This is great because this is an incentive for players to start working on their factories. When you receive those materials, you'll wonder what you can do with them, and if you see that you can craft stronger gear, it would only motivate you to assemble more components for those gear sets. Being able to switch your factories on and off is great. It saves any potential headache since it'll be easier to just focus on assembling batteries rather than restarting everything. I mean, I personally don't have this issue myself since I made my factories with this in mind, but it's a great change for players who just don't have the foresight. Adjusting enemy spawn points, specifically in rare material gathering sites, mining spots, and teleport points, should make setting up an AIC factory in these locations much smoother. There'll be less interruptions as you're trying to set up power grids and zip lines. Then, the most exciting part, optimizations for future patches. I'll go over these one by one as I think that it's important to emphasize why this is a big deal. But before I go over these future changes, I interrupt this video to ask you to subscribe. I make gacha game content, specifically Endfield, so if you're interested, go check out the channel. Now, back to the changes. Here are the list of changes they plan to do in future patches. They plan to add more early game gacha currency, which means it should be easier to gather pulls for characters. This, along the AIC quota changes, is a good thing. They also plan to put your team at max HP automatically when challenging protocol spaces, which is a great quality of life change. It just makes everything less of a hassle, and you no longer need to quit immediately once you found out that most of your teams are just dead. And for AIC Factory, having a faster and easier way to remove shared facilities is great, as eventually you don't really need them and they're more of a clutter. Also, not having them on cutscenes is amazing. Then, they also plan to add a minimap when ziplining, and being able to distinguish shared facility ziplines is also just a nice change overall. They also plan to increase max zoom out, and finally, having the escape key be the button to exit top view mode. It makes me just uncontrollably excited. One final thing. So they're planning to allow AIC facility constructions outside the core AIC area. This is interesting because does this mean we're allowed to make factories in more parts of the world? But anyways, that's a thought for another day. Now for interactions and quality of life. They plan to optimize the mail cache to also include rare gatherables, which is nice because it's not just going to be lost in the wild now. Then they plan to do less intrusive red dots, which is great because those are just distracting. Like, I don't know what else to say. Making it easier to see the amount of materials left in rare gathering sites is just amazing. It just makes everything more convenient. Controller remapping and experience improvements is just amazing. I play on controller as well, so this is just great. Quick claim features for Djong products and recycling stations, by the way, are changes that will just make everything faster and more convenient. Then for the combat changes. These combat changes should just make the experience better, like if I'm gonna be honest. So the first one would be better visual cues for enemy attacks, and the second one being teammates being able to pick up loot better and just improving overall AI. So those are all the future changes they plan for Endfield. These all sound good and will just make gameplay and everyday experience better for all players. Let me know what quality of life change you would like to see in the game.